Hello, it's me again, unfortunately. I'm just gonna be doing another random ranting video. Um, I'm gonna be talking about my dead hamster. Yeah. Um, I don't remember his exact breed, nor did I ever know his exact breed. Um, I'm probably gonna find out. So this is his breed, and here's a real photo of him. Probably the only photo I have of him, which is sad. Um, yeah, and yeah, I'm just gonna talk about like why I had gotten him, and like how it was having a pet hamster, and how he died. Um, Hamsters are known to have such weird deaths. I wouldn't say his death was weird, more or less, it was tragic, really tragic. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I guess just get started. So I believe I was 4 when I first got him. The reason being, my apartment used to have a rodent problem, and I remember one day my mom called me into the kitchen and was like, "Look at what I found," and it was a tiny baby hamster. I don't really have anything for scale, but it was really tiny. It was a baby, and I was like, "Can we keep it?" She was like, "No, we can't keep a rat. It's gross. Ew. I'm trying to get rid of them." I was like, "Can we have a pet rat?" She was like, "No." Um, but if I remember correctly, it was part my dad's idea to get me the hamster because he knew I wanted one ever since that day. And I remember he took me out, and I was like, "Where are we going?" And he was like, I actually don't remember what he said, but he said something. And we went to our we went to my friend's house, except it was the apartment above his. Yeah. And there was a lady there, and she brought out, like, I think it was 2 or 3 boxes, and they're full of little hamsters. Not baby hamsters, but they were definitely young hamsters. And I was like, and I looked at him and I was like, "What?" Yeah, I was just confused. And he was like, "Which one you like?" And I was like, "I like this one. He looks nice." And so we got the hamster and we just took him home. And I was like, "Wow, we have a hamster." And I remember we were all, it was me, my mom, and my 2 older sisters. We were all just huddled around in the living room around the hamster. And we were just looking at it. And I wanted to play with it. But it was really late. I had to go to sleep either way. And hamsters are nocturnal animals, so they're most active in the night. So the hamster was pretty active, so I wanted to play with it. And um, my parents wouldn't let me really grab the hamster because they didn't want me to hurt it or kill it on accident, and which understandable. But it's like I really wanted to grab it, and they're like, "Okay, you can grab it, but we have to like have our hands hovered around your hand, okay?" I was like, "Okay." And so they put it in my hand, and I don't remember what happened, but the hamster started running, and my hand followed the hamster, and then it jumped, and it like the hamster jumped from my hand, and he like flew a bit, and I was like, "Holy crap, he's flying!" Um, he landed. He was okay. Surprisingly, but yeah. Um, yeah. The first few years, nothing really interesting. We just had him. Um, I think it was a little joke how the hamster was mine, but it was technically my dad's because I only played with him every once in a while. My dad was the one that did all the feeding and cleaning and whatnot of the cage. So yeah, and he grew like really big. Like he grew to like the size of an actual computer mouse, like about this big, maybe a little longer. But he grew out of his cage, and we were like, we need to get him a new cage, but we never got him a new cage. So that is our fault. We didn't get him the proper stuff he needed, and because he got so big, he wanted to get out of his cage because his cage was teeny tiny. It was really small, and he learned how to unlock the cage from the inside. The only reason we found out is because every now and then we would see him walking around being like, "Who let you out the cage?" And we'd put him back in the cage. And it wasn't until one day looking, we were just watching him in the cage, and he just unlocked the cage on his own. We were like, "Oh, he's getting on his own." And he just kept doing it. He kept escaping. We kept putting him back in the cage, but he kept escaping. So we were like, just keep the cage open and let him roam. And we were like, I guess. I didn't like that idea because I wanted the hamster in the cage because I thought he was gonna get like I thought he was gonna die if he wasn't in the cage. So I was worried about him. But then after a while, it was like he was fine, and we still fed him, and we knew he was alive because he would eat the food, drink the water we left him. So yeah. And I remember every now and then we would see him in the mornings because again, hamsters are nocturnal. They're active in the night, sleep in the day. So he would usually be sleeping while we're awake and be running around active in the night while we're asleep. And um, every now and then, it's like someone would catch him and be like, "Look," they'd be like, "Look, he's alive. We caught him." And I would they would call me over, and I would be like, "Yo, you're alive. Um, you're still with us. I'm happy. Has it been so long?" Yeah. And we'd always put him back in the cage, but of course he'd escape, and it wouldn't be till a long time till we see him again. That was until one day, um, this hamster. I think it's important to know that this hamster, he lived really long somehow. I always see videos and people say that their hamsters die within a few months to like 2 years, and it was weird because my hamster, it survived for 5 years practically on its own. I mean, it still had our help because we still fed it water. We still fed it and gave it water, but it survived basically on its own for not nine, for 5 years. And I remember my grandparents came to visit us, um, and I remember um, when they knew about the hamster. Um, they never actually met the hamster because he was already roaming free at this time for like yeah, 4 years by then. He was already roaming free, and um, I remember I saw my grandma wearing a bandana over her mouth, over her face, and I was like, and I remember asking her, "Why do you have a, why do you have a bandana? Why are you wearing a mask?" And she was like, "It smells really bad over here by the stove. I think that little animal you have, it's dead." And I was like, it didn't comprehend in my mind what she said because I didn't really, because she said it to me in Spanish and I didn't really understand Spanish. I still don't really understand Spanish, but back then it was a like foreign language to me. And yeah, and I remember I think she told my mom about it, and we checked under the stove, and there he was. He was just like, imagine this is a stove, this is the outside, and back here's the wall. This is the hamster, and his back was just on its side, facing us, and we were like, oh no, he's gone. How do we break the news to the kid? And it's like a part of me knew, and I was really sad because in reality he was my first pet. Um, I mean, I had fishes, but they're fishes. They just stand there. but it was like that hamster. Um, he was like a pet that I could hold. You know, I mean, he didn't really like me. He always bit me and whatnot, but I still loved him. And finding out he died alone under a stove, that was sad, especially my little 9-year-old mind. I remember I had cried a few nights ago or a few months ago. I think it was a few months ago. I remember I was just sitting there, and I was thinking about the hamster, and I cried, being like, he's getting old. He's gonna die any day now. I feel it. I can feel that he's gonna die soon, and I don't want him to die alone. I want him to die with I want him to be with me when he dies. I want him in my hands, in my arms when he dies. But he died alone under the stove, and I remember we had to get him out somehow, and it was a challenge because we couldn't just remove the stove. Um, we had to um, stick something under the stove. We had to like stick something under the stove to get his body out. But we didn't really have anything that long, so we had to improvise and combine a bunch of random like long poles together to scoop him out. And it was working, and I was there the whole time while they were trying to take him out. And I remember at some point he was almost out, but my mom turned to me and was like, "Go shower." And I was like, "But I want to see him." And she was like, "No, just go shower." And I went to shower, and I just kept thinking about it. And when I got out, I went to see if they had gotten him out from under the stove, and they had told me how they were able to get him out, but the issue was that his body was really brittle and fragile. That when they took him out, his body snapped in half, and I just remember thinking about it like, snapped in half. Something something has to be dry to snap in half. I felt him. He was warm, he was soft, and he just snapped in half. Doesn't make sense. I never saw the body, and a part of me wonders what it looked like, but another part of me is glad I never saw him in that way. Um, we're not exactly sure what happened to him. What we assume is that um, because he survived for so long, he got old, really old, and he started losing strength, and I guess he got stuck under the stove and just couldn't get out. So he just stayed there until he just died. Um, it was really weird experiencing that because even though he was my pet, I never really felt him as a pet because, again, he was always free roaming around our apartment, so we never really saw him, and we never really saw him, and we only saw him like once in the blue moon. But when we saw him and I got to hold him again, it's like I remembered how much he meant to me. But then he was just gone. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's a weird feeling, honestly. I do want another hamster, but I want to take care of it properly. But when I see like how to take care of a hamster properly, it's like a lot of work and a lot of work and money. Yeah, and space. Hamsters need a lot of space, like lot of space, like just a lot of space, and I don't really have that much space to spare, and or money to spend on a hamster that's probably gonna die, um, because it someone burps and it gets a heart attack. Um, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. Anyways, yeah, that's probably gonna be it. I didn't really know where I was gonna go with this story. I just kind of wanted to tell the story. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna post next. I'm thinking maybe something about vegetables. I'm not sure yet though. But I'll see. I'll figure something out. And yeah, if you manage to make it all the way here, no, considering it'd be really nice if you consider leaving a like and maybe even a subscription. That'd be really nice. I'm just saying, honestly. But yeah, um, goodbye.